Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I am Jamila and I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup, I love all things skincare, and I especially love finding high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. Yes, we do. So today I have a very exciting but rare video, and I say it's rare because I will be doing a first impressions on the brand new Natasha Denona Zendo palette. Now, the reason why I say this is rare is because y'all already know that I don't believe in paying full price for makeup. So because of that, this is not a review channel. I am not trying to buy all the new products on the market because makeup goes on sale pretty frequently and pretty quickly. So you're probably wondering, why do I have the brand new Natasha Denona palette? Well, so the reason why I have the brand new Natasha Denona palette is because I was able to get a 20% off coupon. So I did not pay full price for this palette. Had it been full price, I would not have purchased it. But I am really excited to try it. I'm glad to have it in my collection. So for today's video, what I want to do is go through a little bit of what the product details are, show you all some swatches, and then give you two separate eye looks. My base is pretty much already done. I'm currently wearing the McGrath foundation. And I will leave all of the details of whatever else is on my face in the description box below. But let's get into this beauty. So the new Natasha Denona Zendo palette is actually in her midi size. Now, if you know Natasha Denona or you follow her brand, she has a couple of different sizes of her palettes. She has sort of the Big Daddy palettes, which retail for about over $200. Then she has her large size palettes, which retail for $129. Then there is this midi size, which I think is everybody's favorite size. This retails for $65. And then she has her mini size for $25. Now, I don't know a lot about Natasha Denona because I don't have a huge Natasha Denona collection. I do have a couple of her palettes here. I have Love, Sunrise, Sunset, and Safari. And these two are her midi size, these two are her larger size. So I will show you guys the difference in sizes in a little bit. But going back into the product details. So again, this is a midi size palette for her. It definitely has that sort of beautiful kind of reflective packaging. I heard a lot of people say that this is very similar to what her bronze palette has. And these are the shades. Very, very beautiful. Now, I have watched a couple of videos on this palette as well as Natasha's own kind of introductory video of this palette. And what I've sort of learned is that this palette is really inspired by sort of the elements. So think air, wind, water, fire, which is why it's a mix of sort of warm and cool tones. One of the great things about Natasha's sort of midi-size palette is that the pans in the palette are removable. So you'll see that there are these little holes where you can pop out the shadows and rearrange them if you want to. Now, when it comes to Natasha's formula, I wouldn't say that I'm obsessed with it. I do think that it's nice, but it's definitely not my favorite, which is probably an unpopular opinion, to be quite honest. I know a lot of people love her formula. And let's talk about the formula. So Natasha Denona's palettes are typically made in Italy. This one is no different. So it is an Italian formula, and it does come with a number of her different formulas. I think one of the interesting things about Natasha Denona is that her palettes tend to have very different formulas. The most signature one being her cream to powder matte. This does have that. It does have the cream to powder matte. It does have shimmers, and it does have like regular mattes. So what are you actually getting? No, this midi-size palette, like all of her other midi-size palettes, comes with 15 different shades. There are 8 mattes and 7 shimmers. When it comes to the mattes in particular, of the 8 mattes, 5 of them are her cream to powder formula, which I know people either love or they hate. It just, I feel like there's no in between. Either you really like it or you don't like it at all. So there's that to consider. So there is a significant number of her cream to powder mattes in that formula. Now, there are 7 shimmer shades. Of that, 2 of them are labeled as duochromes. Now, from the swatches, I think is a stretch to call these duochromes. You can see the shift, but when you've used indie shadows and you've seen what a duochrome is supposed to be, it's really hard when some of these mainstream brands put out duochromes. And anyways, of the 7 shimmers, 2 are duochrome and the remaining 5 are just sort of regular shimmers. Now, from the swatches, I will say that the shimmers are very, very soft and subtle. I know that that has been a complaint of a number of people whose reviews that I've watched. Natasha Denona is known for her high impact shimmers. So if you were looking to get that with this palette, you mightn't get it here, and you might want to look at some of her other palettes. But I have been really into these soft shimmers lately, and I do think that because this is a softer shimmer, not the in-your-face shimmer, this actually makes this palette extremely versatile and extremely everyday friendly, which I know a lot of people appreciate and love. So now that we've talked a little bit about what the product details are, and you guys have seen a couple of the swatches, I want to go into this palette and play with it. What I want to do is create a sort of warm look on one side of my face and then give you guys a cool look on the other side. So let's start off with the cool tone look first and just jump into it. So I'm gonna leave this alone for now and then start on the warm side, and just to use as much shades as possible. I'm gonna start by going into the light shade Calm. Okay, so we have two different looks going. Let's add some shadow to the waterline and get ready to finish up this look. Okay, so to finish up this eye look on the right, I'm gonna go in with Zeal and then go back in with Mantra. So Zeal, then Mantra. And then to finish up the look on my left, I'm gonna go in with Mindful and then Bigger. So Mindful and then Bigger. Okay, so this is how the eyes are looking right now. I'm gonna go add some liner and some mascara, and I will be right back to give you guys my first impressions of the new Natasha Denona Zendo palette. Okay guys, I'm back, and this is the final 2 looks that I created using the Natasha Denona Zendo palette. So I will quickly point out that I did go ahead and add the Ofra Cosmetics liquid lipstick in Verona, as well as their lip liner in Chestnut. So that's what I'm wearing on my lips. And I think a really important thing to point out is that for my inner corner highlight for both of these looks, I went in with the Fenty Beauty highlighting palette. And I used the center shade on my right eye because it is a more cool toned look. And then I went in with this really beautiful copper shade right here for the inner corner highlight for my warm eye. So let me just scooch and give you guys a really nice close-up of both of these looks, and then let you all know my first impressions of the palette and how it performed. Okay, so what do you think? Personally, I love how the palette performed. I love the 2 looks that I was able to come up with. Overall, I think that this is a beautiful color story. And if you are not someone that has a ton of Natasha's palettes, I do think that this is very unique and gives you a really good opportunity to get a lot of her shadows, a lot of her formulas, and a bunch of different color schemes. Now, if you do have a pretty large Natasha collection, I do see where a lot of folks are coming from because I have seen these colors repeated. But to be quite honest, I feel like these warm shades are repeated in more than just Natasha's palettes. So that's just something to be mindful of. Now let's talk about quality and performance. The creamy mattes blend beautifully. Now I do believe that there is a learning curve when it comes to her creamy to powder matte formula. You should definitely go in with a denser brush because it picks up the product better. But when it comes to blending out her creamy mattes and even her regular mattes, I think that they blend beautifully. They don't need a ton of effort. You don't need to spend all day and a half blending out your shadows, which I think is absolutely perfect, especially if you are a beginner to shadows. I think that you don't want something that's too difficult to blend or not blendable at all because then you'll end up with really harsh lines, right? Now, let's talk about her shimmers. I fully understand what a lot of people are saying when it comes to her shimmers. Like, there isn't that impact in her shimmers, which honestly, I think that's a preference thing. If you like soft shimmers, I think you will like this palette. If you need your shimmers to be out there in your face, this is probably not the palette for you. You should probably look into some of her other palettes, or honestly, probably look into indie shadows, because if you want a high impact shimmer, that's where you should be going, in my opinion. No, like I said, I have been really into soft shimmers lately, so I think this is absolutely beautiful. And this is the type of eyeshadow palette and the type of formula that I would wear on an everyday basis to like work or just out in public. So I am happy with the level of impact that I get from the shimmers. Now, I do want to point out one thing, and this was not something that I noticed, but my friend Eileen here on YouTube pointing out that there isn't an inner corner highlight shade in this palette, which is why I actually had to dig into the Fenty Beauty highlighting palette for an inner corner highlight. There really isn't an inner corner highlight shade in this palette, so that's something to consider. But you can always dig into a highlighting palette or another palette for that. I don't think it makes or breaks the palette. It's just a fact that I wanted to point out. So, would I recommend Natasha's Zendo palette? Honestly, yes. I think it's a beautiful palette. Now, at the $65 price tag, I do think that it is a bit much. And personally, I believe you should wait for a sale. But I think that about any palette and any brand. So definitely wait for a sale. But overall, I think it's a beautiful eyeshadow palette. I think it performs wonderfully. I have no issues with it. I love the color story, so it is a definite yes for me. So let me know down in the comments below if you are interested in picking up Natasha's palette, if you've already picked it up, what your thoughts are on the palette. I want to know all of that. But as always, make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe, share, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Bye.